So I've said before here, one of the big reasons why I'm covering a lot of this stuff and sort of focusing a lot on reform is because next May, for some unknown reason, we have decided in Barnsley to go all out elections. Basically, meaning that every single council seat next year is up for grabs. And unfortunately, I really do fear reform are going to win and take control of Barnsley. And I think, as we've seen very much in the past couple of months covering all these reform councils, it is going to be an absolute 10-4 disaster zone. Generally, it worries me quite significantly that this is what's going to happen. And unfortunately, it is not going to be based on local politics and how local Labour councillors are operating, which is really what it should be really done on. No, it's going to be based more on national politics, which is what reform did last time, the last local elections, which is why you've had all these guys get elected that have no idea what they're doing, no idea how to run a council, and doing who knows, honestly, how much damage to these local areas. And I do worry for my own town at the moment because we've gone through a lot of transformation here in Barnsley. A lot of transformation. We've actually had a lot of really good stuff done in the past couple of years. The 2030 plan that has been set out by the current administration is a really good direction to take this town in. The problem then becomes you get these reform people in, they're not going to follow it. They're not going to follow through on it. It's going to be a disaster. Generally, it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be just one thing after another. Part of the reason why I keep on focusing on this is I want not only to show other people and other, people for councils, this is how bad these reform councils are really running. Do you really want to sort of risk the same thing happening in your area when they're not doing anything, where they're not failing spectacularly, where they're like doing performative policies when they've got no policy whatsoever? Apparently September is when all that policy is coming, but we were told should have been out 2 months ago. So I don't know whether any of this policy will actually emerge in September or not for many of these councils. So yeah, I am worried for my own town in this speculation. And of course, this morning we got news. There has been a defection, or at least a claim of a defection, and now there's been a counterclaim about that defection, which goes to me that you've got some people who political opportunists just jumping ship because they think they'll survive, or they'll get rewarded if they, can jump ship now. So let's get on into this then, shall we, and find out what's going on in Barnsley. So before we do that, though, please do remember to click the like, share, and subscribe button. Down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the Buy Me Coffee link, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there is the YouTube membership down below as well. So thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel. Let's get on into this. Shockingly enough, coming from the Rotherham Advertiser, of all places, believe it or not, rather than the Barnsley Chronicle. Advertiser, I think, was a lot quicker to pick up on this news than the Chronicle on this. But bear in mind, it has literally just broke this morning about this, so maybe they haven't published about this. Although today is their publication day, so maybe they just haven't. It's beat the presses to what's gone on. But anyway, this is what happened. Barnsley politics now in confusion with reform defection claim and counterclaim. So, Barnsley politics have now been thrown into confusion, with a Labour councillor now resigning, but Reform now deny his claim to have joined them. So, Councillor Trevor Smith, who represents Labour after serving now for the defunct Veterans and Democrats Party, surprise, surprise, I still don't understand why they accepted him. I do not understand why they accepted him. Because the Veterans and Democrats Party was again, bit of local history here. That party was a splinter group to UKIP at the time, who were dissatisfied with Nigel Farage. And I think we covered some of their crazy stuff back in the day, but it was quite a while ago, since we even covered them or even talked about them. But there you have it. And I don't understand, quite frankly, why he was accepted into Labour. I think this should have been very much, shall we say, seen and predicted he was going to make a jump at some point. But it just goes to show you he is jumping ship, because I think that's where he thinks the wind is blowing. So he said he resigned from Labour 2 days before a selection meeting earlier this week, where candidates now for next May's elections were decided. This means that sitting councillors, Pauline McCann and Kevin Osborne, will be now joined by a new candidate, Richard Olliott. Councillor Smith explained, Councillor Smith claimed he would now represent Reform on the authority, fighting the next election as their candidate. But now Reform have now refuted that, because why would you remember, this party that he comes from is a splinter group, because the local UKIP place here back in the day had a big falling out with Nigel Farage. So some of them splintered off and formed the Veterans and Democrats Party. Go figure. But yeah, that's why. So it's not too surprising that Reform also is not maybe that welcoming to them. So Reform have, of course, now refuted this, stating that Councillor Trevor Smith has not been authorised to represent Reform UK and has not been accepted into the party. We've contacted Barnsley Council to actually confirm that Councillor Smith is an independent councillor and not a Reform councillor. So even they are not happy to accept him, because there still is that animosity between those people who split the UKIP front back in the day, as it was back then. Councillor Smith has, of course, served twice on Barnsley Council from 2006 to 2010, and then again from 2019. He said he was persuaded to join Labour after the Veterans and Democratic Party folded, but he said, I'm going to join Reform. I have a Reform background. I still don't understand why he was let into the Labour fold. I still don't think it was the best idea to do. I still don't understand why that decision was made, given the fact that he's a bit of a frog jumping about between parties, shall we say. So this isn't hardly say a surprise, but it's also quite funny that when he has jumped to Reform have gone, no thank you. Because there is still, as we said, a lot of animosity back from those days. So where was it? So either from background, paperwork for his status as a Reform councillor was, of course, currently being completed, he said. He was, of course, the chairman of the Barnsley branch of UKIP and claims some credit for the strength now of the vote in favour of Brexit in Barnsley. Partly why the big thing happened on that one. They used to go out and climbing. They got so big for the boots. He wanted to like run. I think there was stuff about like he wanted to be like the MP candidate at the time, and blamed like Farage and UKIP for like torpedoing his run. Lots of stuff and claims out there about why, but who really knows the real reason on that one? But a lot of animosity. It caused a split. Went and made, like I say, his own party. And there we are today. Anyway, Councillor Smith had said that he had become disillusioned with Labour nationally because now of work by Prime Minister Keir Starmer to strengthen ties with the EU, of course. They're undoing Brexit. But those ties have actually been very good, to be honest. But again, this guy's one of the Brexit diehards. Anyway, he said it made me really angry, basically trying to dismantle what the people in Barnsley voted for, he said. Migration was a top topic, but it was one that, of course, people are still talking about now. How much money is it costing? Councillor Smith has been a Royal British Legion fundraiser for over 27 years. His local authority career has served on South Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Authority, South Yorkshire's Police and Crime Panel, representing Barnsley Council. He has also served now as a magistrate. This move, of course, comes at a time when reform now has become an increasing force in local politics. Next May's election in Barnsley are, of course, all out, meaning that all council seats will be up for the vote, rather than the historic method of just a third of councillors facing election at a time. Yeah, and now we'll see what happens on that one. But I find it quite funny that still that animosity from the UKIP splitter days is still going strong, which is kind of funny on that one. Because yeah, no one really wants him back because the main reason for them splitting from the time from UKIP was Nigel Farage. He's the leader of reform. So yeah, crazy stuff going on in Barnsley politics this morning. But as always, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think about all this down below. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.